In today's hearing, we will examine the state of juvenile justice system in this country and in the system that currently affects thousands of children and youth. It is a system much like the K through 12 education system. There are numerous examples of successful programs as well as programs and policies that continue to fail our children. Much like public education, we know that juvenile justice system can be a place of redemption and rehabilitation or a place where children are thrown away. The reauthorization of the Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Act is part of our committee's larger effort to support children, families, and communities. Juvenile justice, like education, can be the cornerstone of a healthy community. The Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Act was first written in 1974 with the goal of supporting states' actions to prevent youth crime and to provide certain core protections for children. The law rightfully recognizes that clear biological differences between teenagers and adults meant that youth should not be treated in the same manner as adults, and scientific advances are helping us better understand the biology of the brain development have validated this century-old viewpoint. Without question, youth must be held accountable for their actions, but justice should not be driven by fads or politics. We need rational policies that prevent children from committing crimes in the first place, and we need to support effective alternatives to detention when possible and treat our incarcerated youth humanely when it is not possible. We know from the research that policies such as these have greater impact on public safety than locking children up and throwing away the key. With this law up for reauthorization, we are here to take stock of how the current system is working and what more can be done to provide our youth, families, and communities with the support that they need to avoid criminal behavior and to make our communities a safer place to live. Today, thanks to the hard work of families and communities across the country, juvenile crime is decreasing. Between 1999 and 2008, the number of juvenile arrests decreased by 16%. We know that when there is a focused effort early in a child's life to prevent him or her from breaking the law, juvenile crime rates go down. We also know that when given the right kind of treatment, most of these children can turn their lives around, so it is in the best interest of our nation that we provide that opportunity. But the data show a far different reality. First, too many children end up in detention despite the fact that such policies can actually decrease public safety. Second, minority youth are disproportionately involved in the juvenile justice system, and too few states are actively working to change this despite the requirements in the law. And lastly, conditions of confinement interfere with rehabilitation and can increase recidivism. Today, we'll hear from witnesses about effective reform efforts that don't excuse delinquency or criminal behavior, but also effectively redirect youth, providing appropriate treatment and services and giving them a better opportunity to move in a more positive direction and ultimately make communities safer. We'll hear about the efforts to stop locking up status offenders. We'll hear about the disturbing and growing trend of children being held in adult jails despite the Center of Disease Control's concluding this has a negative impact on public safety. Every year, some 200,000 youth in this country are held, sentenced, or incarcerated as adults. According to studies funded by the Department of Justice, children in adult jails are 8 times more likely to commit suicide than in juvenile facilities. They are also 50% more likely to be attacked with a weapon and more likely to be raped. Kids in adult jails don't have access to real education or rehabilitative services. It's much harder for them to turn their lives around. We'll hear this morning from Tracy McClard, a mother whose teenage son tragically took his own life after suffering horrific abuses in an adult jail. No one questioned that her son needed to be held accountable for his actions, but neither should he have been put in conditions that led him to believe that taking his life was the only acceptable option. No parent should have the experience to what she has been through. Ms. McClard, we want to thank you for the courage to be here today and to share your story. These are just several of the issues that we will explore as we work toward this reauthorization. I know every member of this committee agrees that nothing is more important than the safety and the well-being of our children. Throughout this reauthorization, we will need to keep our focus on the reforms that will help reduce crime through effective and appropriate prevention and intervention, and keep the community safe to ensure that our juvenile justice system preserves basic rights for children it serves. I'd like to thank all of our witnesses for being here today, and thank you for your time and your expertise, and I look forward to your testimony.